drivers are seeing red with anger over the frustrating traffic monitoring they face every day over their shoulder, recording their every move. So while racing along against time, trying to make a living in the most expensive place in the United States, we're suddenly hit by a ticket. Much like many other places in this country, everyday safe drivers are caught with the most minor of infractions without a witness, but caught by surprise. That obviates the traffic conditions beyond the scope of the camera shot itself. There's something bigger, more insidious reason that lies at the foot of our county's legislators. These tickets reek of corruption. It's a money grab, and you are being exploited. I have with me to discuss this very angering situation, Hector Gavilla. Hector, let's, I know you have a lot of things to talk about regarding your work in this area. What's the latest, and where do you want to start with this? Because there's so much to talk about.
Yes, well, the latest news is that we have been lied to by our government as to the reasons why they implemented this program. For years, they were telling us that the red light cameras were put in there to prevent accidents, to reduce accidents. However, there's a report that just came out, the 2014 annual report.
Suffolk County.
In Suffolk County for the red light camera program. And in here, there's an alarming statistics, alarming data that actually personal injury accidents increased at 44 of the 100 locations, red camera
That's
locations.
a significant number. That's damn near 50% of the locations.
Exactly. At almost half the locations, there was an increase in accidents. Also, in this report, which by the way is 2 years late because they're supposed to present it every year, there was an increase in rear-end collisions by 42%. And this report you can download on the official Suffolk County Red Light Camera Program website.
It's the www.Suffolk County.
I'm not sure what the
okay.
website is, but if you Google Suffolk County Red Light Camera Program, you'll find it on there, and then you click on where it says annual reports, and they have the reports from 2010, 11, 12, 13, and now 14 is 2014.
Click on the annual reports. Okay, go ahead.
Exactly. So this is very disturbing. Now, to further go into it, the rear-end collisions at the red light cameras also increased. Before the cameras, now this is according to Suffolk County's own report, before the cameras were installed, the average rear-end collision at the same locations were approximately 302 rear-end collisions per year. After they installed the cameras, it went up to 429 rear-end collisions per year. So if they're trying to tell us that this is a success, it actually is a failure, because what's happening is that people are stopping short at these.
That's almost a 30% increase.
Exactly. Accidents involving personal injuries. Before the cameras were installed, there were about 481 accidents per year at these locations. After they installed the cameras at these locations, the accidents only went down to about 461 per year. So it went from 481 per year to 461 per year with accidents with personal injuries.
That's only about 5%.
Right, so that's not success.
Negligible amount, right.
Yeah, exactly. So what we found out from this 2014 annual report is that the cameras themselves
are creating the problem.
Hazards.
Right.
Exactly, okay? And what's going on as well, okay, is that people's behaviors are changing for the worse, because not only are they stopping short at locations where they know that there are red light cameras, but they're also stopping short anytime that they see the light turn from green to yellow, because they're just nervous about getting the tickets.
And also waiting and not wanting to take the chance of getting the ticket, even though you're allowed to make a right-hand turn. It's constantly come up against that situation. There's cars in front of you, you can make a right-hand turn at the red light,
right?
But they're fearful of getting a ticket, so they're backing cars up in intersections. Right. Been there practically every day.
It's very upsetting what's going on, because it's taking people that are confident drivers and making them more nervous.
Absolutely.
And they're not really driving properly, and it's very dangerous out there. What's interesting too, talking about the crash data, In Comac, there's 2 locations that had the highest increases of accidents, and that's also in the report, the 2014 report, which I had mentioned on this show previously, I believe. In front of the meat farms on Comac Road,
You did,
and
right.
across the street is an entrance to a residential neighborhood, Dorothea. It had the most increases. I believe, don't quote me on this, but one of the cameras, I believe that the average was 9 per year, and then it went up to 18 per year after the cameras were installed, because again, people are stopping short. And that, by the way, never had a history of the T-bone collisions, which is another thing that these politicians are lying to us about. They were saying that they were put in the 100 locations where they had the most T-bone collisions. But in front of that meat farms on Comac Road, there were never instances of T-bone collisions. So when they try to tell us that it's reducing accidents, reducing T-bone collisions, that's what we refer to as junk science, because they're using false hypotheses with false results.
They just made up something, it seemed like. Because their plan, in some way, was outside of the reason why they put them in.
Exactly. The only thing successful about this program is that in 2014, it raised about $33 million in revenue, which in the 100 locations, that comes out to about $300,000 per location.
That's a pretty good number.
Yes, and now you can understand why they don't want to let this program go, because it's bringing in much needed revenue for the county.
Well, so to stop it, we have to do what?
Well, to stop it, what we have to do is get the assistance of legislators who are on our side, such as Suffolk County legislator Robert Trotta, who recently introduced a bill to suspend this program, especially since we're seeing that people are actually getting hurt at these intersections.
Legislator Lupinacci, who was just on the program, also wants to assist in that area.
Well, yeah, Chad Lupinacci, who's a state assemblyman, wants to assist us as well. But the state overall has not helped us, because the state is the government entity that gave the county permission to run the program, and they provided Suffolk County with guidelines. But in my opinion, the state really has hurt us a lot by allowing this to happen.
They're giving the impression that they're doing something, when in reality they're giving something that hasn't worked, doesn't really give them a reason.
Right, and no one's enforcing the
it
rules.
works.
Like, for example, let me give you another idea. In all of the red light camera tickets that you get, they're always referencing the vehicle and traffic violation law, section 1111B. The next time you get a red light camera ticket, you'll see they reference section 1111B. Well, what I did a few months ago is I took a look at that section to see what are the requirements. And what I found out, which disturbed me, was that Suffolk County is not supposed to charge more than $50. So what they're doing when they add the $30 surcharge, the admin fee to that $50, they're doing that illegally. And we confirmed that. Robert Trotta confirmed that with his legal advisor. Suffolk County legislature, they have a legal advisor that gives them advice. And when I presented this at one of the legislative meetings, Robert Trotta grabbed me after the meeting, and he actually said I was onto something, that I was right.
How come nobody saw that? How come nobody did anything about that?
That bothers me tremendously.
Yeah.
That here I am, I'm just a real estate broker. I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not an attorney. I'm just a regular person who did research on the internet, and I went to the official New York State legislative website to see all the laws, and I could not believe what I was reading. I read it over and over again to make sure that before I presented the facts to the legislature that I was correct. And I read it, and it says here, the liability of the owner pursuant to this section shall not exceed $50 for each violation. And also it goes on to say that the late fee cannot be more than $25.
When you think about it, that's probably how they got it to install it to begin with. Well, nobody's there, there's no cop to witnessing, so we can only charge $50.
Right. Well, the reason the state gave Suffolk County permission to run the program was to help Suffolk County get revenue.
Right.
Right? So keep that in mind. And the thing
That
is,
doesn't make me happy.
no, it does not make me happy either as well. And the thing is that what Suffolk County is allowing to happen is Xerox is, as we mentioned on the show before, is the vendor.
Right.
And it's Xerox that owns the cameras, they maintain the equipment, they operate the entire program.
Contractual obligation from the county.
Yes, there's a contract between Xerox and Suffolk County, and one of the things that we talked about was that first $50 that is authorized by New York State, that $50 is divided up between Suffolk County and Xerox. The additional $30 admin fee, which now we know is illegal, that is kept 100% by Suffolk County. And when Xerox, when you pay the ticket and you send it out, you're actually sending it to Xerox, and then they're depositing it into their bank account, and then they give Suffolk County their share.
They reimburse it.
Right. So there is, in other words, there is no admin fee that Suffolk County has. There's no there's no expenses. They actually brag on their reports every year that it costs Suffolk County $0 to operate the program. So why on earth are they charging an additional $30 other than for greed? Now, Nassau County is no better because they're also adding on an additional admin fee. From what I understand, is even higher than Suffolk County.
I think it's 50.
Right, I believe you're right. I think it's another $50.
Right.
Right? So that almost makes it $100 per ticket. Now, this is ludicrous. This is criminal.
It's highway robbery.
It literally is highway robbery, and
Yeah.
it's disgusting. And what has happened is through my website, redlightscam.com, and through friends I've met, we have met so many people who are literally victims of this program, and they reach out to me on a daily basis. They call, they text, they email, and they ask, Hector, how can you help me with this? And I'm always trying to give them advice on what they can do to try to fight the tickets. And so what we try to do is we arm them with the facts. So this is factual. We have a copy of the law that I just mentioned on our website, redlightscam.com, that people could download. So if anything, if you are going to pay it, at least don't pay that additional admin fee. Let them know, call up the customer service number that's on your ticket and let them know you're on to them, that additional $30 is illegal and it's violating Section 1111B of that New York law that we talked about, and print out a copy, send it along with your payment to Xerox if you're going to pay.
Yeah, but the other
That
question I
is.
was going to ask is the law itself about, let's use the 3-second example. I got another ticket for stopping. I see, you can see me touch the red light. You can see there's nobody left and right in front of me. So
Right.
it's nothing unsafe in this big intersection on 110.
Right.
I stop, I move a little forward and brake again. Why am I doing that? I'm looking past somebody that might.
Right.
So I'm making a safe second stop.
Exactly.
They gave me a ticket for not full stopping for 3 seconds.
And that's because the video only caught the second stop. They didn't catch the first stop.
Or
And they
maybe
do
they're
that
only
intentionally.
measuring one of those stops and not measuring both stops combined. Is
Well,
that something? There's something wrong with that.
There's something definitely wrong with that because it
Yeah.
doesn't allow for discretion.
Right.
A police officer who saw that probably would not have given you a ticket.
Nobody would give me a ticket. They see me stop twice at a red light.
Exactly. Now, there's another issue I want to talk about too, which we also discovered after the last
Go
time
ahead.
you and I
Yeah.
spoke.
Right.
They also have a section in the contract there that's referred to as rotational cameras, and it's disgusting when you read the language. And again, that contract, you can find a copy of it on our website. They added an Amendment 3 that allows Xerox to move the cameras at will. So the first time that they ever moved cameras was in 2013, and you could see that report in there, and you could actually see the cameras that were moved.
Oh, that's because they're not getting enough tickets at a location.
That is correct. Now, what I did was I looked at the previous reports. The first full year that the program was operating was 2010. So I
God,
looked
it's
at the
unbelievable.
2010 report, 11, 12, and 13. And I focused on just the cameras that were removed in 2013. And what I learned was that all those cameras never produced enough tickets.
So it's a quota-based system.
It is totally a quota-based system, because from day one, the cameras that were removed never produced any tickets. They may have produced one or two a week or something to that effect.
The public watches this show is going to see right there 3 separate and distinct violations by the county.
Right.
I guess you have to blame the county.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really unconstitutional, are they?
Right.
I mean, it's not the federal government. This is local law,
Yeah.
local automotive. I can't think of
Well,
the right
this
word
is
now.
another interesting point you bring
Motor
up.
vehicle law.
They now, because of the state, and this is why I'm upset with the state as well, is that they changed the law in that section 1111B. What they said was that when it's a camera that sees you crossing the red line, it is no longer considered a criminal case. You're not. It's not a moving violation. It's not criminal. If a police officer saw it, then it would be considered a moving violation,
Because
which
you have
is
an eyewitness.
criminal. And the police officer would have to be required to come to court and testify that he saw you do
So
this.
they can escape that loss of that person, the patrolman's loss of his hours of work now, because they have a camera to do the work of the enforcement.
Right, and this is the part that's really frustrating, because when it's a video camera with the red light camera program, they're saying it's a civil case, it's a civil matter, and the driver, we don't care who drove the car. We don't care if they drove 100 miles and they went through the red light. We're not going to go after that driver. We're going to go after the owner. And you know what? If the driver did go through the red light, there's no worries, because that driver will not lose their license and will not get any points on their license. But the owner of the car is going to be fined the $50 plus the $30
That happened to
admin
me
fee.
once.
So
Yeah.
now that is very clear. That by itself is very clear that this is all about revenue and not about safety, because they're recording cars that supposedly, go through the red lights. Look, if a car does go through a red light and intentionally runs a red light, they deserve a ticket. They deserve the fine. But like you were saying before, people stopping, there's no traffic around, they're making a right turn into a supermarket to go grocery shopping. That's not right. There's no dangerous situation with something like that, and most police officers would not have issued a ticket at all. But they're issuing these tickets, and they're saying it's a civil case, and they're not allowing you due process, where
Right.
you can't face your accuser. And the other line of BS that they're giving us is they're saying there is no accuser, but we know that's not true, because number one, it starts with an employee from Xerox who first watches the video.
They can tie it to a contract or for an employed position, like this person is looking at that.
Correct. Now, here's something else that I found out since the last time we spoke. According to that section 1111B, okay, in the New York State vehicle and traffic law, Suffolk County is supposed to employ a technician. I looked up the technician, and what I found was that the technician who reviews the videos only needs to have a high school degree. So what happens theoretically, in theory, because we don't know if this person's actually reviewing all the videos, I think it's impossible for him to see every single video, is that this is an individual who is not a police officer, is not law enforcement, and is reviewing the videos to say that the videos are accurate and that the car actually did go through a red light. Now, you might ask, how did I find this out? Because when you go to the camera court, which is really a kangaroo court,
Right.
there's a hearing officer, which is typically a retired judge who listens to your case. And what they give you is a piece of paper, which is called the technician certificate. And on that technician certificate,
I haven't seen this.
Exactly. We had somebody go undercover. I have this on the website as well, where they went in and they recorded the whole conversation between them and the judge. And the judge, this is the thing that's really crazy about this court. For lack of a better word, let's call him a judge. The judge is defending the red light camera program. We're not supposed to have a judge defending the program. The judge is supposed to be impartial and supposed to listen to the facts. And so here we have an interaction between the defendant, the owner of the vehicle, and the judge is
And a
defending
high school
everything.
diploma visual
Right. Well,
expertise of a high school a person who only has a high school diploma.
Right. Well, what happens is, according to the Section 1111B, at the hearing, the defendant is supposed to be given this technician's certificate. And the technician's certificate is nothing more than a statement that just says they watched the video. Basically, they press the play button.
Yeah.
Now, they try to make it sound fancy that's a technician, but what I saw was the name of the individual on the technician's certificate. We got lucky. We were actually able to get a copy of it from this individual who gave me the copy, and I posted it on our website. And when Suffolk County, all the information is public as far as employees, the salaries that they make. So I was able to look up this individual, and I saw that he makes $11,000. So if you do the math, he probably comes in once a week, and he's sitting there in the Dennison building on the second floor or the third floor and watching videos all day. And I know this because a friend of mine who interned there years ago had told me that when he was walking by a building, the door was open, and he actually saw somebody watching videos, and they told him that that's the red light camera program, and then they closed the door right away because they didn't really want him to see what was going on in there.
Sleight of hand, huh?
Yes, exactly.
Three-card Monty, it looks
right.
like.
And supposedly this is an individual who's watching it and accusing you. So we do know that there's an accuser, and we do know the name, because if you have a chance to go to the court and you see this technician certificate, that individual's name is on there. And in my opinion, you should have a right to have that individual demand that person come to the hearing and tell you why.
He should be available all the time, full time.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to know, how did this get this far that a person like you and I, who had a chance, who might have had a chance, but we didn't have the chance, to review such a program such as this and say that it's ineffective, or what's the purpose of this? Because on its face, even before you told me about the accident statistics, I'm wondering all the time, and common drivers are looking at this every single day going, oh my God, what? What's the purpose of all this? Other than for somebody else. It turns out it is. It's for the county to recover money for whatever retirement programs they have or whatever union packages they have to settle.
Because our government doesn't know how to control the budget. They just spend. They have a spending problem.
Right.
And
it's a spending issue.
Right. It's a spending issue.
Well, they're recouping money here for their mistakes on somewhere else.
Right. Well, the problem is with government, and it doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, when the money's there, they're spending it. They're hiring their friends, they're hiring their buddies, and now they run out of money and they need more money.
Yeah, they don't
need
know
more
how to
money.
conserve. There's not about any
they're not
conservation
fiscally conservative at all, and they're fiscally irresponsible with our money. That's the problem. But when you see evidence and the facts are there that they're moving cameras around every year, they're moving cameras from one location to another location, that's evidence that this is about money, it's not about safety, and they're trying not to tell you where the cameras are to try to catch you by surprise. See, part of the annual reports are supposed to tell you where these cameras are located, but if they hide that from us and they don't publish it in a timely manner, or they don't make announcements, they don't send letters out telling us, hey, we moved the camera from this location to another location, then that's another more evidence that this is about revenue.
They can also turn them on and off. There was one location where I've gotten 4 or 5 tickets at it. Everybody makes a right turn at the light there, and not everybody makes a full stop. So a lot of my rolling stops, I look, and nobody's coming, and I go. So I got a bunch of them all in a row. Then all of a sudden the light wasn't going off. I saw somebody go through the light and nobody took the picture. It stopped, but the camera's still there because it's a high productive area.
I see.
So they're waiting, they're just letting some time pass by until whatever heat was occurring that was on them that they needed to shut it down.
That could be speculation, or that could also be that there has been incidents where some vigilantes, which I don't condone, have tampered with cameras, where I don't want to go into details of how they did it, but that's been a known problem as well, where some people have done that. So that may have been the situation with some of those
I'm surprised that more
cameras.
people weren't involved in that to begin with, because it's just absolutely, I have to budget now, because I get somewhere in the vicinity of at least $1,000 worth of tickets now, all camera tickets.
It's sick.
Every year.
It's
I'm a
sick
traveling
what's going
salesman
on.
during the day,
Right.
and I drive all the time. I drive 32,000 miles a year. driver, I'm going to bump into some tickets whether I like it or not.
Sure.
And I'm a safe driver. I haven't had any driving for many years. I never hit anybody.
But see, people watching this will think that, oh, we're speeders, we're people that
That's
want
right.
to, go through traffic.
You would want to put your
on
family,
purpose.
trust me, in my car because I'm one of the best drivers you'll ever see.
Sure,
I never
sure.
hit anything.
Absolutely. But you see, the biggest problem, and we touched on this already, is that most of the tickets are when you're making a right turn or you're making a
Right.
left turn. And what happens naturally when you're making a right turn is your car has to slow down. So now
Right.
you slow down, the car behind you has to slow down, the car behind them has to slow down. And on top of that, if they shorten the yellow lights, which they have been accused of and they have been known to do that, now it's a matter of just trapping people. And if it's during
it's
a
what it
time
is,
where
a
there's a
speed
lot
trap.
of traffic, it's entrapment by our government.
Listen, I want to thank you very much, Hector Gavilla. You did a great job and
Okay, thank you.
fantastic work
Thank
on
you
your
for having
part. And
me.
anything I
Thank
can
you.
do to continue to support you,
Thank
you can
you.
count on me, all right? Societal and political trends are rapidly breaking down the family that once was the cornerstone of our great American culture. At FIT, we know you cannot get this information on your own, so we'll bring it to your TV every single week. And of course, we always invite all opposing views. My name is Chris DiMaggio. Thank you for watching FIT TV, and we'll see you again next week.